Welcome back to Stand Up Our Tubes, where we control the tubes and the tubes never control us. So I just finished Twinkle, and Twinkle poses. She can sit, she can stand, she can move her head a little bit, not sideways, but up and down. And she's pretty adorable. Right now she's sitting up, but she can also stand, and you can bring her head back. She looks pretty good just doing that. She can come down on her front feet. You can roll her over, bring her head up, and if I had a little baby bottle, I'd prop it up in her feet and put her to bed. But she needs a friend. So I'd like to introduce you as we make our friend. I don't have a name yet. I think it might be Clover, Twinkle, and Clover. So let's start with the body structure and then the row counts, and then we'll make a friend. This is what makes Clover posable and Twinkle posable. So we need some scissors, a little piece of pool noodle. This is a even smaller piece of pool noodle. Something with a little rounded edge on it. I'm going to use a spoon. These are 1/2 inch for a 1/2 inch pipe inside diameter. I got this at Lowe's. It was about 70 cents. Then the 4-way for the 1/2 inch. And for some reason, when you add this extra little part on here, it raises it up $2. This was about $2.70. So I went on Amazon, ordered 10 of them, and they were just so inexpensive because I probably will make more posable animals. These are the bendy curlers, and I got a pack of 30. They were $8, maybe like $8.99, and I do so much Amazon that I get free delivery. So I ordered the pack of 30, and this is how it's going to go together. So we're going to put one in through, the other one through, and we'll probably want to get a tape measure on it to make sure that these are our legs, that we have the same amount sticking out both ends. My glue gun is heating up. Then I'm going to take this, when I have the legs pretty well centered, and just jam it up in there as tight as I can get it, which steadies that. Then put the other part in and jam it up against that one. And this is our body, and it gives it a little bit of bendability too. I have a tape measure somewhere, and I'm going to fetch it before I put any glue to this. Then this is going to be the head, and the neck, I'm sorry, and I'm going to take that in as far as I can get them. And when it comes up like this, that's going to become the neck, and not only the neck, but go up into the head. Let me get my tape measure, and we'll finish this up really quick. And the magic number is 3.5 inches out on both sides. That's not 3.5. Pretty close to 3.5. Let's see what this side is. And 3.5. So that's pretty well lined up. And what I'm going to do is just take my scissors, cut this pool noodle up a little bit, and make some wedges that I can shove up in here and snug this up even more. And the reason I have the spoon is that helps me to shove them up in here. So I'm just going to keep snipping and working them around here to keep our legs in position. I'm using the tip of the spoon to shove it up in there. And it snaps and crackles like bubble wrap. But that's okay. I'm going to do that to both of them, not so much right here because I can put glue down in there. And then before I call it done, I want to make sure that that stayed at 3.5 and 3.5, and it did not. I felt it move a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing up here. When I have that done, I'm going to drip glue down into the recesses to hold this together. I'm going to put some down in here to hold that in. And I am not going to put glue in the armpits or the leg pits. So I'll be right back after I have my pool noodle stuffed up in there. Okay, I've really got the pool noodle stuffed all around in here and shoved way down in. And then I have my glue gun heated up, and I'm going to drizzle it in to these openings to hold the body together. Just filling it up, coming around the outside even. Turn it over and do the same thing to the tube going into the 4-way. Kind of filling that void up. Whoops. My hand in that glue. And it's hot. We all know about getting burned. Okay, and the neck. Keep that neck in place. And I'm going to set that aside to dry. Unplug my glue gun for now. And we have our structure drying, and we can start talking about the body. Well, we can call this everything is 50 rows. This is our 46 or 48 pin, and you can see 2 different colors because this is Hobby Lobby's I Love This Yarn, and I didn't have enough. I knew I wouldn't. I have just enough to sew it together with. So I used my yellow for the inside of it. So it's 25 and 25. It's just folded in half. I have ears that I'm going to sew into it, and this is 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches. I have 2 of them. So what I'll do off camera, just to make this move along, is I'll bring the yellow to the inside. Then I'm going to kind of do a mattress stitch across the top because I'm not doing bars, but I'm going to get under a row, under a row, a row, a row, all the way across. And I'm going to leave my threads hanging out the sides. This is a leg. This is a leg. This is a tummy gusset. And this is the top body gusset. And these will get sewn together around our structure. And these are going to become the legs and wrap around the back. You'll see how that happens in a minute. But first, I'm going to get this sewn across the top. I think we could do the little adorable head first. So I'm going to off camera sew it across. Then we'll do our ears together. We'll put the eyes on and then move on to the body. I have it sewn across the top, and I'm going to pull both ends, get it nice and snug. But then I want to shape it because I don't want the ears really splayed out. So I'm just going to bring it in just a little bit so that it's more straight up and down. Just pulling that snug. And now it's more like a rectangle. I don't really have enough yarn on this side. I do on this side. I'm going to tie a little knot right up here in the top. A little point there. 2.5, 2.5. If I have enough yarn, and I think I do, I'll just feed it down through the row here. So I come out at the tip, just right here. I don't want to pull my point down. I'm going to leave the make sure that point stays up. Tie a little knot here, and then I'll just go through and up and down and up and down until I get to the end here. I'll do that off camera, both sides. So just a little knot here so it's not drawing it up. I'll do just a couple stitches with you, holding it right on there and then just straight down and straight up, right along the edge of that cardstock. Straight down, then straight up, straight down, all the way across. I'll be back when I have both ears done. I'm positioning the eyes. They're just about halfway in between where the ears start and stop, coming across. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows in between. We're definitely going to glam these eyes up, but I'm going to pull this little bit of stuffing out. That was just around the head a little bit. Make sure my slanted eyes are going up and down. Pop the back on. It's usually 2 snaps. 1, 2. I could hear it. And pupil straight up and down. 1, 2. Alrighty. Let's just put this, well, let me just show you what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to use these because of the kind of fall colors in here. It's going to, where this one has the big white pom-poms, a little pink nose, little white lower lip. This one's going to have these, I don't know what color that is, but that's the color its snout is going to be. I might have to cut this pom-pom down a little bit so that it nestles down in there. I don't have this small one for the lower lip, so I might have to bring it down too, but look how cute that is. We're going to definitely outline these eyes in black. So I'm going to just put these off to the side, put this off to the side, bring this up because everything's dry now. Fold the legs down, and I'll show you how it goes together. So 2 of these tubes, they're all 50. This is going to be the tummy, and I picked kind of a bright gold color just so it would be not too dark because of the other yarn that we're using. Just bringing the looseness of the ends in, and this is going to go underneath its tummy and up its neck. This one, just taking out some of the slack. I usually put about 3 fingers in there until we're ready to snug it up. And about 3 fingers in here. This is going to be the top part and go up the neck. And we could have used the 46 or 48 pin, but we need to get around our legs. So we're going to, this is our butt, cinch this up more. But we're not going to tie anything off because we're going to come back and reinforce this. So I'm going to thread up a needle and take 2 stitches, go over the PVC pipe, keep it pretty snug. When I get down here, I'm going to mattress stitch at least halfway, maybe even closer up to the leg on both sides. So starting at the cast on row, the one that loops around, just take a couple stitches, get around, pick out your row that you're going to stay in the entire time you're traveling down so that you get a nice look. And then we'll turn it over, do 3 stitches here, bring it around, bring it down, and then we're going to put some stuffing in there. So I want to get mine started, and I'll join you back in a moment. Joining you back, and I sewed around. I just ran my thread under a few stitches and then came out here and tied a knot. Mattress stitching up. The same on this side. Now I'm going to take a little stuffing and start padding out its tummy, keeping my threads off so they don't get tucked up inside. And not just the tummy, you want to get on the top part too. So roll it over and come up its back, keeping these threads out. We can also bring stuffing in right here. It's always nice to have little openings. That's why I tie bows all the time, because you get a second chance to add your stuffing in. Okay, so I'm going to find my threads, see if I still have needles on the ends of them, and bring it up to this leg and get onto the other side. Come to the other side, do the same thing. And what we want to end up with, as we're bringing it up through the body here, we're going to not make it loosey. We want to be pulling on it. We want it to come up to the end of these curlers here. And then when we bend them back up, that's the neck that goes up inside the head. So I'm going to sew up to this side of the paw pad, the leg coming out, tie a knot, jump over to here by going inside my row to hide the stitch, tie it off, and start working my way up the neck. I'll be back in a minute. I've made it up to the top of the neck. I'm just going to start cinching this up, the ends of the beanies, and just securing it above the tube here, because when I flip this up, our cute little head is going to go down over it. So I'm going to leave these just hanging loose for now until I'm ready to get up there. We can cinch the butt beanie up some if we have enough padding back here, so we don't feel that pipe. So we have our mattress stitches coming down. I'm going to start snugging this up around the butt, the bottom one, snugging that up. And then ultimately we're going to put a cord through here and finish snugging that up. Okay, I'm going to tie this, cutting them down a little bit. This was my stitch coming that when I first started sewing towards the leg, so I can tie that off. Here's the other one, and tie it to this one. I'll probably use this one to go around, but I'm going to bury these threads. I know it looks like a great big old hot dog in a bun right now, doesn't it? So let's stretch these out. They're the legs. I tied a single knot, but keeping my rows coming down the edge so it's not twisted. And this will just wrap right around the end of this paw pad. And when I did Twinkle, it was 13 stitches up. I did a single stitch right at the one that goes over that cast on row, 1, and then did the 2 bars. So it'd be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We'll see if that works out the same way here. And we want this wrapped over this one. Bring this up over the butt. And we're going to mattress stitch in that. We're going to stay in one track coming around the butt. We're going to cinch this closed. We're not going to leave it open like that, and there'll be a tail right there. So let's see what happens, if it's going to be 13 or not. So I have a long thread right here. I'm going to go ahead and do my first stitch, having it so that my rows just happen to be pointing that way. There's 1 and 1. Then 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, 9, 10, 11. I want to measure that before I go any further. Snug that up all the way to the paw pad, but hold that tip down there so you're not bringing the paw pad up, bringing the circle up. We want it to stay down at the bottom of the foot. Let's see what that got us. That's 11. I'm going to do the 12, 13. So 12, 13. And last 2 bars, 12, 13. Turn it around. Come up, do the first 1, and then come up 13 on this one. Do the same on this one. And we'll put them on, and I'll tell you what we do next. Be right back. All the paws are sewn up 13, 13, 13, 13, and I've slipped them on. And this is where we control our tubes, our legs. So I'm going to cut off a piece of thread. All these mattress stitches are not secured. They're just hanging there. And I'm going to sew around the butt. This is its haunches, so I'm going to spread it out a little bit, but I don't want to pull this leg forward. I want the leg to stay straight down. So, making sure that the mattress stitch is still to the inside of the leg. Still to the inside of the leg. I'm going to just hold the legs here how I want them to stand, and just right on the curve here, because I need to have enough to bring it up into the center too to meet this tube. I'm going to come in where the mattress stitch is right here, and I'm going to tie off to that in a minute, but not just yet because I want to be able to snug up there. So I'm going to leave a tail here, and then start sewing around. And staying in the same row on the butt, lining it up. So I have the same reveal going around here. And my legs are not being pushed forward. Holding them this way, nice and secure. Getting these threads out of the way. I'm going to go into the body, pick up a row, and then go into my V-stitches, my bars. 2 bars, back into the body, under a row, then 2 bars, holding those legs in position. I'm just going into the butt where it's laying, just going straight down. And I'll snug that up from both sides in a minute because I have a loose yarn on both ends. Okay, you get the gist. I'm going to go on around till I get to the center of my leg here. We'll snug it up. Be right back. I went around the butt and I want to show you what's happening now. So here's our mattress stitch hanging loose, and I'm going to snug it together. Get right underneath it with this thread that's coming around from the butt. Close it up. Make sure that my mattress stitch going around this way is all snugged up. And I'm going to tie these together. And it's easier for me to unthread my needle to do that. And now just put the leg back in position, make sure they're down. I'm going to just pull that leg back a little bit and continue around. Pulling this out. Here's my front, and it looks odd, but this is going to all go up inside the head. We're going to bring this back and mattress stitch this together. So before I continue around the leg, I need to get that top mattress stitch together. So I'm going to grab some more thread. And leave loose ends on both sides again. Pulling it up from the butt. And the reason we have this color under here is because we don't want to bring it together all the way down, or we'll force our legs together, and we want this leg to be able to stay up. So we're going to just bring it together about up here, and this is just a little blue gusset that'll be showing up there. So my stitches just happen to be facing that way. I'm going to go in one stitch, leave a tail, go in one stitch over here. It looks like it's across from it. There we go. Just leaving it loose for right now. And then I'm going to mattress stitch across until I get about the same distance on this side, and I'll meet you back. This is kind of what we get, and I want this paw to come forward. No pressure on the paws. So that's why we're not mattress stitching all the way down, letting the V come up here. Same thing on this side right here. Going to control how this foot looks and this foot when we sew right here. No pressure on them, because if you sew this too far forward, it's going to bring this foot forward. It's not going to want to stand upright. Same with this one. So when I sew up across the top here, I'm going to keep these in position. And the next place I'm going to sew, oh, look at all these threads. I'm going to get rid of some of these threads up here. These are the mattress stitch threads, and they're not secured yet, so we want to just keep them down towards the tummy here. Okay, so keeping this up, I'm going to come under its paw right here with this mattress stitch. I'm going to go ahead and tie it off and then start using that long thread to come up over its back, holding its feet in position until I get around on this other side here, and I'm where this mattress stitch is, and I'll tie off on that. And I'm going to need a longer thread. How long is this one? This one's plenty long, so I think what I'll do is just start on this side instead and thread that one up. If you don't have a long enough one, then tie on underneath the armpit, because that's a good place to hide a knot. Okay, I'm just snugging this up, and then in the armpit, tying a knot here before I start sewing. Make sure that's all snugged up. Okay, and because the paws are flexible, remember we're holding them where they need to be. Get rid of these threads and start sewing up over the shoulder. I'm going to go into the body first, right on the edge of where the yellow's starting. The edge of the tube. Take a stitch and then start working our way across. Another stitch into the yellow. And now we're going to be up onto the back. So I can bring the legs back down again and hold it. Pull this up towards the neck a little bit. No pressure on these legs. And I'm going to start sewing across the back. And when I get underneath here, I'll join you back. Okay, so I made it across the back, and now I'm right on the edge where the yellow tube is going under the armpit. And I'm going to go right on the edge of that yellow tube. Working my way to the armpit. Snugging up. Snugging this mattress stitch up right here. And then once again, coming right up into the armpit, right over that mattress stitch, snugging everything up, coming around the neck, the mattress stitch, but not pulling this down. I'm going to take my needle off and snug this up and tie it. Okay, I'm at the armpit tying. Gives you really nice snug beginnings and ends. Okay, now my feet are able to go straight down. We haven't quite finished these yet, but they're going to go straight down too. Since these aren't very long, I'm going to bury them. I'm going to, this one here, we started right here. I'm going to probably take this right here that I mattress stitched with. I still have a needle on it. And start sewing this way into the armpit. I'm going to bury these threads, bring this one this way, and join you back in a minute. Okay, I have my mattress stitch thread, and I didn't even tie a knot. I just mattress stitched to here, and then I'm mattress stitching into the armpit. I'm just continuing on under 2 bars, and then into my body tube. Snugging it. 2 more bars, working my way into this armpit. And I can pull this paw back a little bit to see what I'm doing, staying right on the edge of my yellow now, my yellow tube. So everything is snugged up. No gaps or holes. It's not going to look good if you do that. So I'm coming right over where I started, overlapping just a tad. And I'm going to tie a knot. Everything's really nice and snug in there. Double knot. And bury the thread. I think you get the gist of what we're doing. It's by sewing these gussets down that we're controlling how the legs are going. So when I come from the mattress stitch coming this way, I'm going to make sure that my leg is forward before I start sewing this, so there's no pressure on it. See how they're both coming straight down? And we have paw pads to put on it. They're going to make the legs longer, so it's going to look cute. Okay, so I'm going to work on this one to the center. And I'll join you back when I have it done. Just pull your legs forward and come around into the armpit. I'll be right back with you. Where I started my first mattress stitch around and I hadn't tied it off, I've now tied that where I started, and I left the loose thread so I could pull it from both sides. I've now tied it really tight to the mattress stitch yarn that's coming down from the tip of the paw down. And I'm going to use this because it's long to sew my gusset from the leg that comes up the side right here. So I'm already right here in the middle. I'm going to go right into the edge of the yellow tube, being consistent. Pull this back just a little bit so I can see where I am. I got my head in the way, don't I? Okay, and then back into the yellow tube. Close that up. And now I'm coming up this little side gusset to where we started mattress stitching. Get your little leg out of the way, baby. I have to be able to see. I have to roll it towards me. Okay. Just a couple stitches to take. And we'll be on the home stretch. Just made it to where we started. No pressure on these legs by doing it this way. This gives us a little V gusset coming in. If it wasn't variegated yarn, it'd all be the same color, but I like the variegation. And now I'm back where I started. I'm going to discreetly tie a knot and then send my thread up this way. Okay. How are we doing? Sewing up to here. I've already knotted this off to here, so I'm going to just pick this thread, trim this one down, bury it, Come up to here, knot it off, bury that, and we're going to put the head on. I'll be right back with you. I have a bad stitch right here. I wish I'd noticed that, but it's going to be underneath. Maybe I'll put a Margaret's House tag there. You never know. Let's secure these over the top of the tube here. Whoop. That's a mattress stitch coming up. This is the beanie pool. We just want to encase the top of these curlers. I'm going to just sew it shut. Bringing it up this way, keeping it straight. Here's the center of the beanie. This is totally not going to show. So just tying it together, sewing it together, whatever it takes. And then we're going to work on the head, and the cute little head is going to sit right down over top of this neck. So I'm going to get this together, finish sewing it all the way up. None of this shows, just getting the top of the curlers encased. And I'll be back. We'll start the head. While we're waiting for the glue gun to heat up to do the fur on the ears, like Twinkle, let's go around the eyes with the black yarn and do the eyebrows. We're going to glue on these adorable pom-poms, but these will be that cinnamon color. We're going to do the fur around the ears by just running a little tiny bead of glue and laying that fur into it. But let's do the eyes. It's really easy to do. So I threaded up a nice long piece of black. It's a pretty heavy yarn. You know, it's not real silky. It's got texture to it. And I come to the point right in the center of the eye, out away from it a little bit. Leave a tail to tie off to behind the ear. Then come over, because you know they have the cat eye, so we want it to do like that. So here's a whole row on the left side of the eye, going in there and coming up right on top of the eye with the thread on top, and that gives me my arch. And then I'm going to come down right on top of that yarn, come back into the corner of my eye where I came up. Now I'm back in there. Okay, there's the top of the eye. And don't have your tail on your yarn hung up in there. So we're going to come straight over to this part now, and then right down on the center of the eye again, right below the pupil, with the yarn trapped under the needle one more time. And that's going to outline our eye. And then to fill this in, I'm going to come back up this way. Then come straight up off the corner here with the black thread, black yarn. And I'm going to do the little eyebrow coming across. And just come right in here and not try to go over and do a second eye because I don't have enough yarn. Come right out where I went in behind the ear. There it is. And I have my little eyebrow, and that really pops that eye out. I'll tie that off. So the same thing on this side. Coming in on the corner, trapping the yarn, coming, you can do the top first, the bottom first. It really doesn't matter. So I'm going to do the second eye, just like the first eye. My glue gun will be hot, and we'll do the fur on the ears and glue on its little nose. Woo, we're almost there. I'm just going to tie a little knot back here and bury the threads. This one didn't quite come out in the right place, so I'm just feeding it up a half a stitch. And now I'm going to tie it. so I'm not tying it over top of one of my finished stitches here. Now I can bury the threads. I'll send one in each direction deep so you can't see this black. So you want to go down into the stuffing. We'll do that on both sides. Be back when I'm ready to glue on the pom-poms. And this head is just stuffed. It's not even sewn on yet. Just when I stuffed it, I had my fingers up in there so that that tube could go up. Then I just snugged my beanie up over it, you know, pulled both those cords nice and tight, tied it, and it's just waiting to be sewn on because it's easier to work on the face if it's up off the table so you can look at it. And that's what I was going for. And we still have to put our paw pads on and our tail, but we've got the face pretty much done because gluing on the pom-poms is quick, quick, quick. Oh, what a difference a little black yarn can make, huh? Looks so much better. So now since I'm going in brown tones, I'm going to use my brown fur for the ears. And I'm going to lay a really thin bead of glue, and I need to have a finger hold on this. And when I lay it down, I'm just going to lay this down into the glue. It has a nice little mesh here, so it goes on pretty easily. And you have to use a thin bead of glue. You can't glump it up or you're going to feel it. It's going to be stiff. So here we go. Here's the beginning of the ear where we came up from stitching it. A little thin bead here, right to the tip. And now I'm just going to lay this mesh into it and pat it down just a little bit to get it into that glue. Just laying it on it. You don't want the glue to come up onto the top of the fur or the yarn. Okay. There we go. Like that. Then I'm going to just run a little bead down to where we started stitching here. Try to keep that point in the ear and just lay it down into it. Just gently pat it if I have to, and then trim it off. So I'm going to turn it this way. Run that little bead of glue right down this, right to the end. And now pat my fur down, just touching it to it. Very gently. It helps to keep a bobby pin handy, which I had when I made the one right before it, and just touch into it. And snip it off without snipping your yarn. You don't want to have that happen. Okay, and here's a furry little ear. And I'm going to do the other side the same way. It just dresses it up. And I might let this fur come a little closer in. I'm not sure. I'm not going to cut that yet. And do the same thing on this one. I'm going to use the end of my needle to pat that down into that glue. Since I may have put my bobby pin away. Okay. This is just my extra little, where I was holding on to it. And I may or may not bring that fur a little closer in. I might actually glue those little tabs down because his ears are pretty far apart. Coming down, I'm going to cut a bunch of this off. I don't need to have such a big long. Makes it harder. Okay, I'm going to lay it down on the table so I can see better. I don't know if you can see. My head's probably going to get in the way here. Okay, let me spin this yarn around so it's going the right direction. Whoops. And I'm going to come straight down with that little thin bead all the way to where we started and lay this into it. It's looking very cat-like. I think I'm going to have to add a little bit of glue right here. A little gap there. Okay. Fur. Okay, now it's time to pick the best looking side of these pre-made Hobby Lobby pom-poms. And they're going to be an adorable nose that we're just going to glue on like this. So, we're the best side. I just put a little bit to get it started, and then I'll add more glue. Because these are big pom-poms. Just that one little dab is not going to get it. I'll come around the edges here in a minute. But this lets me be able to push it over and get a good position. So another little bead. Pushing it into the middle. Yeah. And then I didn't have a small one to match this, so I took my big one. It hurt my feelings to cut it down, but I took one and trimmed it down so I could have a lower lip to go right underneath here because it makes a difference. It finishes it off. And I'm going to push that up into the bottom there. We need a lot more glue, but I'm going to wait until I get the nose on. Now it has a little bottom lip down there. The nose is too big also. So I have this big brown pom-pom, and look at that. Way too big. I looked and looked. I didn't find one pom-pom that was the right size because I've used them all up doing other projects. So I've cut this much fur off till I got a little nose. We're definitely going to be putting more glue on, but I want to position my nose first. It's not hard to trim them down. I just don't like losing my big pom-poms. Okay. Here's our nose. Cute as it can be. Just needed to be bigger than the little tiny pom-pom was going to be. Okay. This could use a little trim right here. So I'm going to do very lightly go around where it's loose and firm this pom-pom up. I'm going to bring it into my lap to do that, and I'll be back in a minute. Always be gentle on the glue so it doesn't come up, get on the outside, or, get out beyond your pom-pom. I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, everything's secured. Being very careful not to use too much glue. Got us a little bottom lip on. Glue gun is cooling off, but we are not done with it. So where I tied the head on at the back, I have two really, really, really long threads. I'm going to cut them both down. Just leave this one from the inner tube. Yours isn't necessarily going to be a different color because maybe you had enough yarn. I ended up with just maybe a couple yards left over when I was done. Okay, so we're going to sew it around just like any head gets sewn on. But because you're going on to a narrow tube with a wide head, you're going to have to go under 2 rows almost every time. Come back off the row that's going around your cast on thread. That's not a good stitch to get under. But if you go under 2 rows of the head every time and then go into a row on the neck, 2 rows, when you get around, if you don't skip a row, even if you go under 2, if you just keep going under 2 and don't skip one, you will never get a pucker. So I just went under 2. Now I'm going to go into the row on my neck. And I also want to bring it back close to here. So I'm coming back here, close to where I sewed the shoulder on. Bringing that head back. And then find the next 2 rows on the head. Bring it down onto the body. And don't skip. Just get in there and pick them out till you find those 2 rows. Come down onto the neck. We're bringing the neck down a little bit. Just keep doing that. Coming around. Off the cast on row. I know it seems odd not to, I mean, you want to go in that one because it just seems like the logical choice, but it's not. Now we're in the yellow, or whatever color you used for your secondary color. Coming in here and looking for the 2 rows to get under. 1 row on the neck. I'm bringing it down a little bit onto my neck. And then coming up kind of high off that first row there. We'll cinch it up in a minute. And just getting in there and digging for the stitches because they're puckered. They're hard to find. Way up off that, here's that row that's got the big long loop, and that doesn't give a good look. So now I've gotten a third of the way around, or a quarter of the way around. I want to snug this before I go too much further. Okay, and then I'm going to just work my way around till I get to the back and tie it off, and I'll show you what it looks like, and we'll see what yours looks like. We have a cute little face, but we need to put the paws on. Now, the paws clearly aren't 50. It's not going to be everything is 50, but it's 10. So I just took a cream color, and I have 4 of them. And before you cinch them up, they look like this. So we're just going to cinch them up and make them into boats. Boats, not beanies. So we're doing both ends. And neatly, rolling them in so they're neat. And we're going to make little boats to go onto the feet. The back of the boats go right at the back, and we want to make sure that we keep our leg track straight, that we aren't twisting it, you know, so that it looks good. Straight down, straight down. So here's the back. So we'll take our first little beanie boat. We're going to do them all the same way. Cinch it up, thread a needle. Nice and snug. I'm going to try to get on camera. Just come through here just to catch the end here. Tie one little knot. Now, if this is the back of the paw pad, then we're just going to sew up just one right here. Now, here's the end of the beanie. So we're just coming up one and tying a knot. For the front, and I'm going to sew with this, so I'm going to get my second needle. And for the front, we're going to come up a little bit further because we're going to make the paw pad come forward so that you have the little toes up here. So straight up the back, little toes, tie nicely a little bit of stuffing in there because we don't want the bottom of the paw pads to be rounded. So I've got my second needle on here. Try to get this really nice and neat right here. No rolled stitches. Do one little knot right into the center there. And on this one, we're going to sew up two instead of just one. Okay, so getting in a V-stitch and a V-stitch, a second V-stitch, and the second one. And now when we put our little leg in there, this will kind of flatten down and make the front of the paw pad. That's way too long, and we're going to tie to it. So I'm going to just leave it about 6 inches long, cut some of this off of it. And I like to always start sewing at the back. A tiny little bit of stuffing, just a little fingertip full to put up into the toe here just a little bit. And onto the bottom because we're putting something round into something boat-shaped. Just a little bit. Okay, so keeping our tube straight coming this way, we're going to do all four the same way. We're going to sew it right along where it starts to curve on our curler. And kind of think about how you want it to face. I want mine to just be slightly out, but not where it looked like I got it crooked because I didn't know what I was doing. I don't want that look. Okay, so just holding it on. When I get up to the front where this is, I'm going to tie off to it and then just keep continuing until I get around to the back. I'm going to sew that on just by keeping it right on the curve here. I'm going to have to bring it kind of down into my lap to do that, so I'll show you what it looks like when I get done. Okay, the paw pads are on, and you want them to be, just work them with your fingers a little bit so they're flat on the bottom. And now we have to do something with this. So I have my body thread, and I'm going to just go all the way around, and I'm going to start at the top since I'm using this kind of thread. Get in all these stitches, and I'm going to just, when I pull both ends together, it's going to suck this up. And then we're going to put the tail on. Okay, let's see what happens. pulling this one because it's awfully short. Okay, now I got something I can work with. Pulling it shut. Tying it 2 or 3 times and burying the end, both ends. And then we'll make a tail decision. And there's something I want to do with the paws. I always want to do it with the paws. It's always optional. I want to do what I always want to do, and that's put the fur right around the top of the paws. So I'm going to start at the back this time. Just lay the fur into that. And by pulling it, you snug it right down into that little bead of glue right there. Going to come up onto the side and do the same thing, just a little bead of glue. I just think it looks so cute. It just, I don't know. If I have a choice of doing it or not doing it, I want to do it. So I'm going to go around each of the little paws. I'll do a little bead right here on the top, on the side, join it together in the back. Do all 4 of them, and we'll finish this little kitten. All right, one last thing is to take the long needle and stabilize these back legs. Paw pads are on, fur's on. Okay, so I'm on the back side of the curler coming down, using a double thread. And so I don't have a thread coming right across it. I'm going to go under a couple rows. And then work my way back through to the front side of this one, right about here, if I can get it to line up. Ooh, really close. Still want to split a stitch. Okay, it came out right there. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing and come under this stitch and come out where I went in. Snug that up. Tie it nice and snug. I'm going to bury the ends since I have 4 strings here, I'm going to send one this way. I'm going to send them different directions. Cute little face, isn't it? Okay, well, we still need a tail. Okay, for the tail, I cut fur yarn about 18 inches long, and I'm going to feed it right in under a couple of bars right here on the top of the tail and pull it through. I'm going to do it 3 times so I can braid. Okay, here's the second one. And I didn't have enough of the brown fur, so I have a little gray fur in there with it. But I'm going to put the brown one through on the top so it's predominant. And pull them up and get them even. That's even. Even. And I'm going to braid it. Divide them up into 3s. I'm assuming everybody knows how to braid. Let me move him up a little bit. It's going to give a nice furry looking tail. Okay, almost touching the table, so I'm going to tie it off at the end. Couple good knots. I'm going to bring it to the underside and give it a couple good knots. Then trim that tail so it has a little pom-pom on the end. And with these projects, I'm pretty much out of fur yarn. But I am going to Hobby Lobby in a couple days. Oh, I never trimmed this here. I go trim it now. Got some fur hanging down. There we go. Okay, here's our cute little face. Our cute little fella. Stand him up. Cute little tail. I'd say the end. And here's his little friend. Right beside him. Not a very good angle. Let's see what I can do about that. Oops, I'm hung up. Hung up. Backing up. There they are. Looking pretty cute. I like them. I'm calling it done. And thank you. I hope you'll give me a like. I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you'll try to make some posable animals. All right. Thank you.